Okay.
Darlene, I couldn't think of two better words to start this sermon with this morning. For those who were here last week, you'll remember that last Sunday our children presented the children's Christmas pageant here for Living Faith to enjoy. And so for those who were here, we know that those two words were the response that both Mary and Joseph gave when the angel came and spoke to them the most incredible words that they had ever heard or could possibly imagine hearing. As that angel came and said to them that they are about to experience something in this life that they had never experienced before, in fact, that no one had ever experienced before. That they were going to have a role in God's salvation history that was just absolutely unfathomable. And our beautiful Mary and Joseph, there he is, responded, both of them equally, to this incredibly good news, this incredibly scary news, with the simple words, "Oh, okay." Mary to hear the news that she was to bring a child into the world. Well, that in itself doesn't seem so extraordinary. But this child that she was being told that was going to come into the world in a way that had never happened before was a child that was coming to change the whole way that the world looks at itself and sees itself, that was going to change the whole way relationships among people and between us and God was ever going to happen again. And then to Joseph, that he was going to be a father without having any biological role in fathering. And yet he was being told, stay with this family, stay with them, love them, care for them, support them, no matter what happens. And there was a whole lot that was just about to happen. In the scriptures today, of course, is really Mary's Day in the season of Advent. God made a promise to David through the prophet Nathan. We heard it just a moment ago. David wanted to build a house for God, and God said to him, Nathan said to him, yes, but then no. And said, well, actually what I'm going to do is not let you build a house with brick and stone, with mortar and wood and cedar and all the finest things that you can find. Because guess what? That house one day is going to come down. But rather, he said, I'm going to make you a house. And today, as the angel Gabriel comes to Mary, that promise that was made to David takes a huge, giant leap forward. What is it about Mary? What is it that makes her so special, so receptive, so accepting? When I say accepting, I don't just mean accepting in the passive sense. Sometimes we go through life and say we accept things that come our way, and it means just this passive way of accepting. No, she didn't accept what was being said to her passively. She accepted it with an embrace that pulled it into her own life and said, yes, I accept this role. I embrace this which is coming before me. I don't even know what it is, but she embraced it and accepted it and said, yes. She said, let it be to me according to your words. Or more directly, oh, okay. She is a model of faith in how she accepts the role that God has for her. As we read the psalm together today, that was a psalm that came from the book of Luke. It's called the Magnificat. It's Mary's song. It's Mary's response to all that is going on. as she begins to praise God. And she says not only that this is going to happen to her, but she recognizes this is going to change the whole world. She says those in power will be thrown upside down. Things that are will not be the same way anymore. Everything is going to be changed. It's not passive on her part as she embraces Gabriel's announcements against all odds, even in the midst of opposition that comes to her. But even before she has a chance to say yes to God, she believes that God notices her, that God favors her, that God blesses her in her life, that God has great plans for her to use her in a special way. To say that she recognizes these things is not the same as saying she is ready for them. There are times in our lives when we know things that are coming, and we accept that they're coming, but we're not sure yet how we're going to participate. Huh? How many of you remember the first time doing something, how scary something can be? I wish I had an example right now, but you all know what I'm talking about. The first time, I'll say the first time I ever had a chance to preach. First time you do something, you have no idea how it's going to turn out, how it's going to progress. It's a scary thing. Mary is scared. She is perplexed. And so she turns to the angel that comes to her, and the first thing that she says is, how can this be? How can this happen? How can this take place? You know, I love that that answer is in here, because a lot of times people come and say, don't question God. You can't question God about things that are going on. Oh, really? Can I point you back to Mary? She's right here in the scriptures and she's questioning God. She's saying, how can this be? How can this is a messenger from God, right? This is Gabriel, God's messenger. Angel actually means messenger. He's bringing her this message. How can this be? She says to Gabriel and to God. Mary questions what it is that God is saying, and speaks to Gabriel the things that are on her heart and in her mind, that are in her spirit. How can this be? Do we ask the same questions? Not asking Mary about her life, no, but about ourselves. How are we going to make it? We know the life situations that we're in. How is it going to work itself out? Do we open ourselves up like Mary opened herself up to let the blessings that God has for us begin to just seep into our spirits and into our being? Do we believe that God has plans for us just like God had plans for Mary? Do we take time to wonder if God notices us? Have you ever wondered? Does God notice me? Not just when I come into church on Sunday. What about the rest of the week? Or that God blesses us? Sometimes we say, who, me? I'm just a nobody. How is God going to use me? Well, friends, Mary wasn't exactly living in the Trump Towers herself, huh? She wasn't living the life of luxury because her father or somebody in her family was a great person in the world. No, she was completely unknown. She's not on anybody in the world's who's who list at that time. She is today, of course. But you see, Mary, in her being a nobody, is not the exception in the scripture. She's the example. She is just the example of what God can do when somebody, some nobody, believes that God's blessing in their life has come to make something happen in the world, to bring a change in the world, who begin then to live their life as if they believe that God is going to use them to make a change. Friends, my brothers and sisters, you are blessed. today, just as Mary was blessed in her day. Blessing is something powerful. Something that may even be rare to experience, but once in a while, we can say, yes, I received the blessing. Yes, I received something in my spirit that made a difference, that changed something in the way my life was going. We live in a world that seems to be geared towards rewards and punishment. Reward for the good that I do, and punishment for the bad that I do. I've been following my friend on Facebook. He's a great musician. Oh, he is so incredibly gifted. In fact, he used to come once in a while to my church and play. And he plays saxophone. And when he played saxophone, Darlene, it's like your presence here. When he played saxophone, people met with God. They didn't just hear Amazing Grace, they felt it. They experienced it. So much so that I used to ask the same question. What should I preach now? If you've already experienced the presence of God. But my poor brother, he has an issue with his temper sometimes. And so he has a Facebook site now. He has a picture of his hand in a cast. Because he got mad about something. And he punched the floor. He broke his hand. It's not a good thing for a saxophone player to break their hand. And as I'm reading and he's writing, he's saying, I don't even know what I believe anymore, and I don't know if I believe that God has anything special in me or for me. And I finally wrote to him as I saw all the other people who were writing to him, and I said, how about this? Because he doesn't even want to participate in Christmas this year, he said. I says, how about this? How about on Christmas Eve, you go to church with your wife and your son, and you go and you sit, and you just sit. Can't play the saxophone right now. I said, and let someone else's spirit sing Silent Night for you. Instead of doing anything to try to prove how great you are to God, just receive God's gift through that person. They may sing off-key, but they probably won't. And somehow you're going to receive something in your spirit that is completely unrelated to what you feel your own sense of self-worth is. And whatever you just did to the floor, as somebody said, the floor always wins. But what is it in our lives that makes us feel like we only get what we deserve, and that's usually not good? Blessings come to us as a gift. They intrude into our life, they interrupt our life, they even disrupt our lives. Things are not the same. But when we are called to be blessed, called out by name to be a blessing to the world, let that sink into your being. And think about this week that is to come. A holy week in many ways. A troubled week in many ways. And so in this week, who will you see? Who will you meet? How will you be a blessing in other people's lives? As you listen to others. My brother, the news came out yesterday. I'm so tired of having to make the distinction of whether Black lives matter or police lives matter. Because the answer is human lives matter. We're going to pray for those two officers, the NYPD. We're going to pray for you, my brother. We're going to keep on praying. We're going to be a blessing into your life. And we're going to be a blessing into other people's lives this day, and this week, and ongoing and beyond. Because the life that Mary carried for 9 months in her womb, that life matters. So as we go forth and recognize that we are called to be somebody and to be a blessing as we have received a blessing, you already know what we need to say, right? We're called, and our response is simple. Go.
Okay.
Okay.
Amen.
Go with